Rebecca, who put forth last year, why are our kids such wusses? We can go outside when it's 31 degrees, right? We've changed our our policy, both at Slatington and at Peters, so it's now teacher discretion. So, based on sort of our discussions in this group, we looked at, I think it was Mrs. Benz who brought up the idea of how are we going to address volunteers in the building and sort of make a safer environment. We should set more standards for that. So certainly at Peters, I worked to, sort of create sort of a more streamlined approach to sharing that with every single person who comes in the building to create that environment. We had discussions on foreign language, on MTSS, on Schweb's programs, and it was also beneficial. Tonight's big topic, as I'm sure you're expecting, is our current instructional model. With a lot of the comments, and we tried to capture a lot of them in the agenda, a lot of the comments tending towards how can we make what we're doing better? And I think that's a great question. If we in education ever feel like we've made it, education's not a destination, it's a journey, right? So what I'd like to do, and I'm going to try to be as streamlined and quick as possible, but also give you some information. I think one of the most valuable things we did at Peters at the very beginning of this was basically together share what we're doing. And even our kindergarten team, our first grade team, and our second grade team learned from each other by sort of sharing what it actually is. We might have some Slatington parents who haven't seen what Peters is doing, and some Peters parents who haven't seen what Slatington is doing. So I'm going to take you very briefly through what a Google Classroom looks like. At kindergarten, I'm going to be very, I'm going to take you through all of it and then just highlight the first and second grade, and hoping to take less than 6 minutes to do all of it. So can you give me a thumbs up? I'm going to share with you now and present my screen. Just give me a thumbs up if you see what I'm seeing. Shouldn't be yet. Crossing fingers. I got things spinning. Good. Thumbs up. You see me? All right. So Mrs. George, I knew she was going to be in this meeting, so I asked her if I could share hers. So when your child goes into, or likely when you're working with your child on getting them into Google Classroom, you end up in what's called the stream. It's basically like the home page of the Google Classroom. On there, there's oftentimes teachers post announcements, post reminders, and students even sometimes pop in and post. Every once in a while, the principal might even pop in and post something. The most important thing for what we're going to be focusing on tonight is how we distribute and basically share the classwork with families and what we use to basically do that classwork. So when you click on the classwork button, our kindergarten, first and second grade, all create weekly assignments. They're not doing it day by day, it's week by week. Within this kindergarten room, if I clicked on this week, the 19th through the 23rd, up would come the assignment document for that. And once you click and open that, this literally has every assignment. This is where the parents in kindergarten go. So every single kindergarten teacher has the same exact grid. They're all doing the same thing. So if I'm in Mrs. George's class or Mrs. McShane's class or Mrs. Hedgettis's class, I all see this because they're working so hard together. Now, there's going to be some information you will read at the top. It's usually the same. So once you read it, you basically know where to go for the rest of it. And what they've done is differentiated by day and by subject. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as well as ELA, phonics, math, guided reading, social studies, and your daily exit ticket. Some things are mandatory, some are not. And they've shown that. So what our teachers have done is, as you go down, let's say today is Tuesday, the 20th. Here's what a kindergartner had to do today. For ELA, they had a phonics lesson. Anything that's blue and underlined is a video that either the teachers have shared or created. Now, I'm not going to play the video because hopefully by this time we don't need to learn our kindergarten ELA lesson, but here's a video, a 7-minute and 48-second video that our kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Hedgettis, created, so that parents aren't required to necessarily teach the students. Hopefully they can just sit with the students, watch the video together, or when appropriate, let them watch it themselves. And she teaches that lesson, and underneath it directs you to complete worksheets on page 45 in the Wonders Phonics packet. Our teachers at all grade levels at varying degrees also have work that's sent home. So some of it they'll have to do digitally, but a lot of it they do the lesson together, they do the work, and then they actually turn it in when they come back in. If you go down, another teacher-made video in kindergarten. Here's Mrs. George. Mrs. George, just give me a 5 seconds on what this video is so I don't have to play it. It says mixed.
It's just a story about living in harmony.
Wonderful. So it's Mrs. George is a dynamic reader. So you know, she, I guess, did a reading of a story.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mrs. George. I put her on the spot. She's going to yell at me tomorrow. Clicking down, handwriting, the letter S, one of my top 23 favorite letters. You click on it, opens up a 30-second video highlighting, I'm not sure which teacher did this one. Oh, there's an ad, but we won't watch the ad. But it's actually a YouTube linked little song about the letter S. The students watch that. There's another handwriting S video where it looks like Mrs. McShane created a letter on how to draw it, so when they're practicing at home. A Fluency math video. This is done by Miss Hugo, so you would click on that, and Miss Hugo would take you through a brief Fluency lesson. And then there are typically direct links to both Peters and Slatington purchased Eureka in Sync, which has professional people who teach the curriculum you know, give a specific lesson that, again, Miss Hugo highlighted as well, directs them to complete work pages at home. And again, for guided reading, there's Mrs. Lewandowski. I know she does a lot with sight words. We've purchased Hegarty Phonemic Awareness. We do that curriculum live, but we also have the people who developed Hegarty who do a short lesson every single day that students can do. And some sight word practice. In which Mrs. McShane's class is, I guess it's the Bitmoji classroom is there to guide students through. Now, when you add this up, it seems like a lot, but it's a 30-second video, it's a 3-minute video, it's a 5-minute video. And you know, usually it's designed to basically do a little bit at a time, although you could sort of put it all together. I estimate that it's probably 45 minutes to about an hour of work. There is some extension work. You know, in which this is not mandatory, but it's fun learning where students can take something they're learning and do something extra with it. And here is what they turn in on a daily basis. As you know, and to preempt Mr. Pyne, because all of PA K through 12 is required to do or account for daily attendance. So what a student would do, and I'll actually fill it out so you get to see it. Student name. Let's say I just did, I'm in Mrs. George's class. It'll ask a number of questions about what they saw today. So as you watch the videos, you'll be able to say, you know, and answer these questions. Which picture begins with S? Sun. What did all the colors do at the end? I'm not sure because I didn't read the story, but I'm sure it was lovely. How many stars are there? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stars. And what is the setting of the story? Taking a guess and taking a guess, submit. And the student now clicked their work. So that's sort of a highlight of what a student has to go through on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so again, one of the things we tried to address was the criticism last year that in March 13th, many parents would say, I'm not a teacher. I don't know what I'm doing. I have worksheets, but I don't know what to do with them. So our teachers have created a system where they are literally giving daily lessons in short pieces and allowing, you know, basically, you know, the students to watch them, hopefully with the families when time permits, complete work, and then account for attendance at the bottom. And I'm not going to focus, but just to take you through to show you first and second grade. Here's Mrs. Schuster's first grade. They do the same system. Obviously, it's different teachers, different content, different everything, but it's the same style of grid. Monday through Friday, here's the work they do. And at the bottom of the work, they collect an exit ticket. Again, they've got math, reading, writing, handwriting, Hegarty Phonemic Awareness, phonics, and they actually do, it's a very cute Monday morning message, a Tuesday morning message. I know I watched them for an entire week. It was Miss Parsons that week. I'm not sure if it's still her. It looks like it is. So, and each teacher basically works on a portion that they contribute to the entire grade level product. Second grade is the same thing, but it looks a little bit different. And if I was a first grader or a kindergartner, I wouldn't know. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. It's Mrs. Heil's music class. But if I click on a second grade, let's pick, where are you, second grade music class, Mrs. Ettinger's class. She has the same thing where she'll have announcements, reminders, etc., classwork, and they use a Google Slide. They like this because they're able to put a lot more information that they can reuse. So, and they've created a lot of resources for second grade parents as well. So, it's basically like a Google Slide. It's like a PowerPoint. So as you go through, again, it's always in the same place. Literally, if you look at every single week's, it's the same with different information. It's got a little introduction. It's got, some reminders for what students bring in, some reminders for what's coming up this Friday. Peters Elementary School is a pink out. Don't forget to wear your pink. Some upcoming events, important reminders, some highlights of some things you'll be working on, sight words, etc. And then day by day, the work. Here's Monday's work, Hegarty, a read aloud, spelling, essential questions, a slideshow, and then for math work as well. And then at the bottom is the exit ticket. So again, we sort of have the same strategy, but each grade might look a tiny little bit different because they're working together to do it. And that's the daily work of a child. So if I'm a second grader, I click on these and I listen to the videos and I do what I need to do. The challenges that have come forth at Peters, and I'll close these out, relate to the fact that for some things, for instance, for the ELA curriculum, the Wonders curriculum, it's not embedded within Google Classroom. They'll have to go back to Clever, basically go back one step and click on Wonders to go in and do that assignment. And same for some of the perhaps other resources that are used throughout the grade levels. But again, Google Classroom is basically the one place where we have all of that information, and that hopefully gives you basically a sort of a highlight. I'm not sure if you want to do questions now, Mr. Pyne, or if you want to show sort of some Slatington, and then we'll basically, if people are writing down questions or comments, we can sort of take those. Okay, I'm going to mute. Oh, I'm sorry. If somebody's talking, I don't hear anything. Are you hearing him? Okay. Okay. I thought it was me. I was like, have I spoken for the last 6 minutes and nobody's heard anything and you just felt bad about telling me or something? Well, how about this? While he's playing with his mic, he might have to log out and log back in. Is there anybody that has a comment or a question?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself. Thanks, everyone.
All right, much better. And as I look down at my volume button, it looks like I'm having something where the little caution sign's coming up on my internet. All right, so I'm going to move on with Slatington Elementary. I'll show you quickly the third grade setup. It's very similar in the way that it's streamlined through one teacher. But all the teachers they work together on a single document that they put out. I'll do that quickly because it's going to look very reminiscent to what you saw with Peters. Different, but similar. So if I pull up Mrs. Lychak's class really quickly, Stream, again, it's the same thing. Stream is really just for like quick little announcements, things that they're dropping out there. It's when they get into the classwork section, that's where parents and students are really going to find the work. Now, we do have ours. We break ours out into daily sections within there. So if we were to look at classwork for Mrs. Lychak's class, weekly lesson plans, October 19th to the 23rd, once we get in here, we're going to be actually looking at the 19th. And again, very much same format every day. They have it set here so that you click on your appropriate teacher, and that is just because a number of the forms that we use, programs that we use, things like that, link directly back to a class within that teacher's assignment. So Ms. Stubitz may have her own class in, let's say, Ed Puzzle. So by clicking on her particular link, it takes the students directly to where they need to be if they're in her class. Again, same thing. I mean, it runs down into the different areas, has very clear short directions. And then there are the exit tickets, which are indicated by the 3 stars. So I won't spend too much time on that because I think that most of the challenges as we shift into Slatington Elementary School, as we get into 4th grade and then 5th and 6th grade, come from the fact that the students aren't self-contained all day. They will have an ELA teacher, a math, and a science social studies teacher. And that was something we did a number of years ago as we were adjusting to the PA core standards and we were adopting new curricula, and we wanted to really train up and specialize our teachers in the content areas that they were teaching. So in order to achieve this, I thought, well, we're going to want to see 2 things. One, perhaps each of those content areas, but then also see what it looks like across grade levels. Because the grade levels work together and they come up with kind of how they want to organize the grade level, but the content areas have very similar approaches as well. So I'll start with 6th grade, our oldest students, and I've got Mrs. Ware's class here. This is her math class. Again, Stream may have things, may not. It's not really a place where a lot of information is put out. At this point, most teachers are putting out information to parents and students through Class Dojo and through the Google Classroom email system. But then within here in Mrs. Ware's class, and she has hers set up, so you would go in, and each day the students would go in and they're basically going to see 3 things. For the students who are fully virtual, they would end up having instruction directly with Mrs. Ware. But for the students who are out, they would end up having lesson 21, which is, it's loomed, but it's delivered through the program that Mr. Schnyderite referenced, the InSync program. We did purchase InSync because, and the teachers validated the instructional process, the explanations are exactly as they were trained to explain them. And so that kind of allows us to put up a well-rehearsed, well-put-together video that goes through the initial point of contact of the lesson. Throughout the course of that, then the students are given practice work. They're giving things that they're supposed to practice as they're going through the lesson. And then ultimately they're given sort of a guided practice piece that they get after the lesson. And then the next section in Mrs. Ware's class, every single time.
Excuse me, Mr. Pyne. I'm so sorry to interrupt. If you believe you're sharing something, I believe you're incorrect.
Oh,
I don't see anything, and a couple people have also. I thought it was just me, so I was going through my settings.
I apologize. I'll bring that up right now.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for making us aware.
Thank you, yes. Can you see it now?
I do, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so here, I'll start with where I was. So again, they'll see the initial lesson, the initial point of the lesson, which will have the explanation of the content, basically what the teacher would do at the beginning of a direct instruction piece, where they would go through how some things throughout the course of that are explained, but then ultimately, as would happen in the class, the students are given an opportunity when that's completed to go and complete work in their math module. The next section, which this is where Mrs. Ware is actually creating the sort of content in terms of the explanation and the review of that practice. And I don't necessarily need to play it. You can kind of see it moving there a little bit. So again, in front of the whiteboard, in front of the camera, she's going over what it is that the students practice during that interim time. And then finally is the exit ticket. So the exit tickets for the vast majority of our classes are through Google Forms, but there are a handful where they are using other programs where that's the case. But the exit ticket for math typically will have a couple of problems, sort of like an exit ticket would have at the end of a class period. And we're using that as formative assessment each day in order to try to keep a sense of what students are mastering and understanding and what they're not. I'll explain kind of how they overall work, because that formative assessment piece is really important in us being able to continue to reteach and cycle back and review content that students seem to be struggling with. So that would be one class. That would be the math class. Again, so everything does remain here in classwork. Now, I did have one, this is crucial actually, it was in a meeting earlier I brought up that some teachers do archive things and take them off and others don't. And you will see that Mrs. Ware is one who she does archive things. She kind of pulls things off after a couple of weeks in order to keep this simplified. So I'm going to go ahead and just close these, and then we'll move on to, so the next one I'm going to show you is our ELA. Ms. Balliot, who teaches ELA in 5th grade. Again, stream, it is here. The teachers will be able to see if they're having difficulties with things and stuff like that. They'll be able to put up reminders. Heading into classwork is where you're going to see the bulk of the work. You're going to see where things are organized. So she has an extra support place up here. But then other than that, she'll have all of her other work listed down here. And again, this is another comment that came up that was brought to my attention. We do have some teachers who start the newest day at the top, and we have other teachers who have it so that the newest day is at the bottom. And so this is one where it is at the bottom, so the students would scroll further down in order to find October 6th.
You're not sharing again. We can't see it.
Oh, it keeps popping off. That must be what's happening. I apologize. Maybe if I do it this way. All right, so I think we might be good here. All right, so anyway, I'll show you one of the classes. So October 19th, now ELA is different. It's not as formulaic as math is. Math is typically it's run very much in a direct instruction model. It's new content each day, it's practice, and then it's feedback to the teacher in terms of whether or not the students are understanding it, and it kind of runs, it's math. ELA, very much over the course of the week, it will be broken up. Some days they may be addressing specifically complex sentences and grammar. Other days they may be addressing specifically reading, over a longer period of time. But they will always find in here the same thing. So here's just a quick instruction, just complete spelling page 20 in Wonders. And this is one of those times when that Mr. Schnyderite was talking about where the students would go out of the Google Classroom and go into their Wonders account. For grammar, that would not be the case right now. Well, they would go out for the assignment, but this is one of the areas where Ms. Balliot has created a loom. I don't necessarily want to play the whole thing, but just kind of bring this up where she's explaining complex sentences and explaining what they would be doing on the particular sheet. And then over here, she has an Edpuzzle assignment with periodic checks throughout it. So Edpuzzle, for those of you who don't know, basically it's like screencasting, except throughout the course of it, there are opportunities for the teacher to either stop and explain something and kind of break into the regular video where they might be, let's say, reading a piece out of Wonders, or also just the ability to add some questions, the same way that you would in a class where, the teacher might do a reading check. And then this is, again, just kind of a pretty straight explanation of what they're expected to do to go and read, and then follow the directions as they're in Wonders in the Your Turn notebook. Again, this would follow down. You will see some differences, like I said, like Greek roots and other variations on ways of teaching vocabulary. So it's not exactly the same exact language as they go through each day, because there are some variations in the way that they might approach topics. Let's see if this one stays on when I close it this time. So then the last one I'm going to show, and I know Ms. Binder's here, and I don't want to put her on the spot, but I don't know if you have anything to say, Ms. Binder, after I kind of run through this. This is one of our science social studies classes. The science social studies classes are probably the easiest and most straightforward of all. Science social studies classes in the building are typically about 40 minutes long, as opposed to ELA and math, which are about 90 minutes long. And so in the science social studies classes, you're going to see sort of less content. And Ms. Binder has it set up here so that if I were to click on the first, I would be able to access a Google slideshow with reading material related to the social studies curriculum. They're right now in the social studies cycle. The second piece is actually a Loom video in which she's going through and reading that particular piece of reading for the social studies curriculum. And then at the end, there is the exit ticket. And I'll just open that up so you can see what that looks like. In which there are just a handful of questions about what was read. And anytime the students can go back and they can refer to what they had read, just like they would be if they were answering questions out of the book. So please, if you do have questions, I know I rushed through those, but at the same time, I wanted to go through 3 different ones so that you could see that, yes, there is that extra difficulty in grades 4 through 6 that students are accessing multiple classrooms. But again, responding to feedback in the spring, our aim was to organize all those classrooms so they would be able to go to the same exact spot and kind of see the same exact flow of work each day, no matter where they were going.